So welcome to Leadership Lives. Today marks the start of a brand new 7-episode series from Manolo and me. The series is called 7 Teacher Voices, a toolkit for empowering teachers with agency. And we thought that this was very important. And as always, this series is created to open honest and necessary conversations about how educators can thrive and maintain professional sanity in an often unsupportive educational environment. I think that is fair to say. We focus less in this series. We're going to focus less on teaching techniques because teachers have had lots of training on teaching techniques, and more this time on the professional and emotional resilience that teachers need. And we'll be offering, between the two of us, we have way more than 50 years of experience teaching. Isn't that right, Manolo? We've been around the block.
That's right. Which makes us very, very young.
It makes us, yes, exactly. We are still very young. We're still here. And it's also pretty useful because we can offer some practical advice for handling difficult non-teaching situations. I know I've made a lot of mistakes. I don't know about you, Manolo, and I hope I've learned from these mistakes. I'm sure, because
we always do. Yes, and we learn from mistakes.
So our idea here is that people can learn maybe from our mistakes before having to make them themselves. You know, and our goal here is clear. It is to empower teachers worldwide to take control of their professional lives, despite the challenges of what is often now called a broken system. No, we see that all over the place. And the fact of the matter is the system isn't really going to change, is it? The only people that can change are us, you know. So today's episode is the first of 7, and we decided to call it Setting the Stage for Teacher Agency. So we're going to be giving an introductory panoramic view of these core challenges. Our theme is navigating this broken system, navigating the external pressures and internal resilience. So without further ado, let me introduce mi gran amigo Manolo Hidalgo, co-creator of the 7 Teacher Voices series, this little series here that we're putting together. Manolo has over 50 years of experience in language teaching. He holds a master's in applied linguistics, applied to English language teaching. And he also holds a bachelor's in English language and literature from the University of Havana in Cuba. Manolo es cubano. You are Cuban.
That's right.
We both live in Mexico. I'm Irish, live in Mexico, have been doing so for a long time. Manolo as well is Cuban. We're both island people living in the middle of this enormous country. He has international, besides his master's degree and his bachelor's degree, Manolo holds international certifications in business English from Pilgrim's College in the University of Kent, and also from the London Chamber of Commerce. He has served as an examiner, he's a tester, as am I, an academic consultant, and a teacher trainer. So he spent a lot of time training teachers in teacher formation. And Manolo is also a curriculum designer for institutions like the Escuela Bancaria y Comercial, which is a prestigious business university in the center of Mexico City. He also works very closely with KPMG, one of the big 4 audit companies out there, the Mexican Association of English Language Teachers, MEXTESOL, and the Escuela Normal Superior de Mexico, which is the teacher training college nationally here in Mexico. He currently serves as academic and general director of Quill Idiomas, his language school, which is, if you are in Mexico City, even online, you can contact Manolo. But if you're in Mexico City, his language school is near Metro Sevilla in the Zona Rosa, and he offers courses for learning English and learning Spanish. Okay, so let's get cracking. So this first question is for you, Manolo, because I'm a talker, an Irishman, talk much. So I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to ask you a question, which is this: given that society often does not value teachers' work, I don't think it's safe to say teachers' work has never really been valued very much. That's the way it is. Hopefully, it will not always be that way, but it has been that way for the 30 years plus that I've been in it anyway. So given that the society often does not value teachers' work, what is the most significant emotional toll that this lack of appreciation takes? And what immediate simple steps can a teacher take to start improving their self-esteem and professional pride today?
That's right. Well, it is a fact that what you have just said. I mean, that the teachers' work is not valued. I mean, the way it should be. It has been for years, and it now still happens. Unfortunately, of course, some institutions do value the teachers' work, but in general, there is that situation, and of course, that provokes an emotional impact, a big emotional impact among many teachers, especially the teachers who are vulnerable to this situation and this criticism. So there is this sense of a victim. I mean, the teacher feels like a victim, and there is a sense of powerlessness. So, and a mindset of the victim and this vulnerability, let's say, which is very sad. That has to do also with the teacher, the individual teacher's personality or psyche, because well, some people in general see generally the negative side of things instead of regarding them in a very positive way, and that also influences on this vulnerability. Let's say the teacher feels let's say helpless sometimes, and well, definitely there are actions to take. The first thing, the basis of it all, is continuous professional development. I mean, if the teacher empowers himself with knowledge about teaching techniques, teaching principles, the methodological approaches used, that makes like a shield, I mean, against all criticism. And there is this internal validation. I mean, it comes together. I mean, if you are really, if you are an authority as a teacher, in terms of methodological principles, in terms of the teaching world in general, the teaching and learning world, you feel strong, you feel power. I mean, definitely. And you can answer back and actually not feel like a victim or in this vulnerability state, but on the contrary. I mean, you feel, it doesn't mean arrogance. I mean, it means being an authority as well. And that comes only with knowledge. I mean, with continuous professional development. And we say continuous because we know that there are new techniques, new ways, etc. Right. So the teacher should always be updated. And having that, like we said, is like a shield. I mean, against all criticism. So you will always know what to answer and what to do in each of the situations. And definitely it gives you the power that you need. I mean, as simple as.
Yeah, I think you're talking about professional confidence, it's sometimes known as, no? Which is actually a behavioral competency I'm not sure what it's called. What's it called in the Corn Ferry, you know, this human resources organization. They have a dictionary of behavioral competencies for work, no?
Right.
And professional confidence is one of those, no?
Absolutely.
And I completely agree with you. Yeah, I mean, you need, if you know what you're doing and you know that it's based on best practice, it really doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't affect you, and it also helps you then to explain to these other people.
To explain, that's the point. That's the point.
Which is very important.
Is that on some other side is that schools themselves. There are some schools, as we know, that give the teachers a lesson plan, and they cannot possibly change one word. I mean, everything is
Right.
like a robot.
Yes.
And that also, let's say, decreases the value given to the teacher,
Yes.
because the teacher is not regarded
Totally.
as an authority. But okay, you have to follow these rules, and we know what we are talking about, that the teacher should only follow. And we know that in the mainstream language teaching nowadays, the teacher's action zone is very important. I mean, the
Yeah.
teacher is, of course, he is, if he belongs to a prestigious academic institution, he will be given good didactic material and all that. But he or she should be free to also adapt according to the kind of students that he or she has. And some
Yeah.
schools would not allow this. I mean, and
Yes.
this also
True.
diminishes the role of the teacher.
Yes, certainly. I mean, a school that does that is placing no value on the teacher's professional judgment, I think. I think professional confidence can help you to bend the rules, don't you think, Manolo?
Absolutely.
To play according to the rules.
That's right.
And be happy and get results from your students, and that
Exactly.
professional.
That's right. Exactly. I'm talking about results from your students, observing very carefully the results. I mean, the positive things that students are really learning, and of course, what they still have to learn, which are opportunity areas, also encourages teachers a lot. I mean,
Yes.
Convinced that they are doing the right thing, right?
Yes, exactly. And that is also professional confidence, is the ability to assess if the students are learning or not, because the students, ideally, they would know, but sometimes they don't know. And so, I think what we're saying here, Manolo, is that it's very, very important to stop seeking external validation.
That's right.
Because luckily you will get, as a teacher, there's always somebody that will love you as a teacher, but what happens when there are some times in life, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, where the parents are not on your side, the students are not on your side, the school is not on your side, absolutely nobody is on your side. And if you're, and good luck seeking external validation and doing your job in a situation like that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that is much more common, that kind of situation, than we would think, unfortunately. And that's why the validation needs to come from you. And I completely agree with you. I love that idea, Manolo, that if you know that the students are learning and that they're achieving what you want them to achieve,
that's right.
Then you validate yourself,
You validate yourself. Yeah, definitely. And even if there is a number of parents and students who will be, because of wrong concepts and all that, we will talk about it later, are kind of against that. There will always be students and even parents, of course, that will also understand that they are learning and that you are really giving very good classes and very good service.
Always, yes, yeah. I mean, I think as well, what we're saying here is that you need a really thick skin to be a teacher,
That's it, of course, definitely.
I think, but both you and I have thick skins because we've been around the block, life has bashed us around a little bit, so we don't care anymore, maybe. But you know what I mean? But I think it's something,
definitely.
It's something that needs to be developed, Manolo, don't you think? It's not something from one day to the next. You actually need to every day reflect and learn and build this thicker skin. It's a little bit like a tree, the trunk, kind of the rings, every year you get more rings on your trunk,
And of course, that external validation should not be ignored either, because, well, it might be very valuable as well. I mean, for you to learn and for you to locate, let's say, your area as a teacher, right? Of course.
And external criticism as well. If people are criticizing you, it's for a reason. Now, they might be wrong.
They might be wrong.
But they might wrong.
Be partially right.
But there's something in it, If there's where there's smoke, there's fire, So it's really, really important to listen and learn and get what you can out of it without allowing it to affect the value that you place on yourself, I think that's super, super important, and it's very easy to say,
it's very easy to say, and of course, again, it has to do with the teachers as an individual, the teacher's personality. Because, well, some people have this personality of always playing the victim and always criticizing and all that, being on the negative side rather than on what is possible, right? But that has to do with the person's, let's say, the teacher's personality as well.
Yes. I mean, it doesn't help when parents are saying that you are a terrible teacher and that you are this, that, and the other. And the directors of the school are saying this, that, and the other. And the students as well. You know, you even have a lot of violence from students towards teachers. Luckily, it's not something that I have had, you know. I've had discipline problems for sure, but not actually open violence. But of course it exists and it's increasingly common. So the problem is that, you know, I totally agree with you, Manolo, and it doesn't help if all of this negative stuff is coming from everybody else as well, you know. Somebody needs to vouch for you, and that person has to be you, you know. And Manolo and I are here. If you want to send us a message, we will. It's not fun. It's not fun being in these situations. I've been there, you know. Have you been there, Manolo? Have you been at any point in your career ready to throw in the towel?
Yes, absolutely. We all have been in such situations. And also the positive criticism and the praise received, because it is not only criticizing, I mean, criticism from parents, negative criticism, but the praise also helps a lot. I mean, not becoming arrogant or about that, but it also helps a lot. I mean, it is all a whole group of things.
We tend to focus on the negative more than, as human beings, we tend to focus on negative feedback more than positive feedback, right?
That's right.
And we need to learn to actually listen to that positive feedback. People are not inventing things when they praise you. I mean, they're saying it for a reason. They're not trying to just be nice, you know?
Another very important thing is self, well, I wouldn't, maybe we can call it self-criticism. When you finish a class, it's like when artists finish a performance, we do and should analyze what we did and think, well, I should have done this in this way. That is teacher reflection. Like, okay, I should have done it next time. I will explain this in this way.
And this is what I did well, no? As well. This is what I really liked.
Well, which worked fine. Yes, absolutely. Yes. All of that.
Because the students won't tell you often. I mean, sometimes they do, and that's marvelous, you know? But the students won't tell you. The parents won't tell you. The directors often won't tell you. So it has to be you that tells yourself, you know, well, that was good. I set out to do X today, and it worked out really, really well, you know? Even if the students... Now, of course, we're exaggerating. I think if something does go well, probably you will get positive feedback from your students and the parents. And
also, right.
But it's not guaranteed, I think, is what we're saying, you know?
It is not guaranteed.
Yeah, so it's slowly over time learning to get the validation from inside and have a balance. It's difficult to have a balance when everybody around you is telling you that you are, you know, you're awful.
Right. Well, exactly.
It does happen. Luckily, not very often, but it does happen in life, and it's really, really, really difficult to take. You know.
Something that is also very sad is that when you give low scores, low grades to some students, then parents may increase or strengthen their criticism because they would like their...
I don't care. I give the low scores anyway, and I give high scores.
That's it. Of course.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I'm awful. I shouldn't say these kinds of things. But, you know, if I give a low score, which I hardly ever do, actually, because people say, oh, you're so nice.
Well, we give the fair, what they deserve.
That's where the professional confidence is important as well, what you're saying at the beginning, no? You must know how to assess objectively, so that if somebody asks you about it or pulls you up on it, you can say, well, I'm sorry, I've assessed based on these criteria, you know?
Based on this, exactly.
You can take it or leave it, you know? But I'm not going to change the score, you know? I mean, I'm awful, aren't I? I'm so like, you know, ugh.
Of course. No,
but anyway, I mean, it has to be that way, you know, because there's so many people who will. I had a friend in university who used to say to me, she calls me Chicken. She said, listen, Chicken, we were about 20 years old. There's always, I mean, the world is always going to, like, you know, cut you down. You know, don't do it to yourself. You know.
Right, of course, of course.
You know,
No, definitely,
it's somebody
definitely.
somebody has to stand up for one.
If we are strong, professionally speaking, I mean, we will know what is right and what is wrong. I mean, of course.
Yes, yes, and this takes practice, I think, don't you think, Manolo? You
Takes
have to put
practice.
this into practice every day, because we are not robots. We do get hurt by things that people say.
Absolutely,
We
absolutely.
do get hurt by unfair behavior from others, you know, and
Definitely,
it's, unfortunately,
definitely.
life is not fair. You know, it will never be fair,
Of course.
unfortunately. But it doesn't mean that it's all bad either. You know, it's getting this balance, I think, which is
This
difficult.
balance.
It takes a lot of practice,
Right, right,
especially
right.
when times are tough.
It takes
Okay, I've
practice
got
and
some
it takes a lot of analysis and yes, absolutely reflection, of course.
requires a lot of self-awareness, yeah, that which is kind of a separate but related thing,
That's right.
which is another thing that requires an awful lot of practice, is self-awareness. Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. All
Do you
right,
have
I've got
any
some
killer facts this time? Do you have
I
any?
have the killer facts here. Yes, our killer facts, which we put together, which I'd like to share. You know, in case people think that this is not an issue, there is a killer fact here that globally, worldwide, research indicates that between 40% and 50% of teachers consider leaving the profession within their first 5 years.
My God.
Yeah, it's happening, isn't it? It's happening. I know in Mexico, where we are, there are certain states in the Republic where they cannot actually find teachers. Nobody wants to do it.
That's right.
It's a pain in the neck. It is
Yeah,
actually a pain in the neck, but it doesn't have to be a pain in the neck. There are things that you can do as a teacher so that it isn't a pain in the neck, you know.
of
But it's
course.
not
That's why
either.
we're here.
That's why we're here. Yes, that's why we're still here. Yes, that is why we're still here. And so it says here that within the first 5 years of their teaching practice, with burnout and stress cited as the primary factors, right? So that's okay. So just to put numbers on it, in Mexico, which is 150 million people, there are approximately 2 million teachers, I think, in this country, different levels. So 50% of 2 million
Hmm.
is a million. So that's a million people in Mexico that has, and that's just one country, that have considered leaving the profession,
Hmm.
who have left it because of burnout and stress. So, you know, this is an issue. And also, you are not alone. I think it's good to know that one is not the only person going through this kind of experience, you know?
Of course.
Okay, second killer fact that we put together here, Manolo, it says a significant lack of societal respect, you know?
Hmm.
I don't care what society thinks, to be honest. Well, I do a little bit. I suppose. But a significant lack of societal respect is a key contributor to emotional exhaustion, which is
Hmm.
the core component of burnout. Yeah. So it's
That's right.
super important that we listen to our own value, self-value, much more than society, because society, look at society. The kids are addicted to smartphones. The PISA reading, math and science scores are going down. You know, we're not talking about highly educated, societies surrounding us
Society
here.
in general.
They're
Right.
getting dumber and dumber. So, you know, don't listen to them, you know. So our job is to make them less dumber, I suppose, if we can, one person at a time. So a
Hmm.
significant lack of societal respect is, for what it's worth, is a key contributor to emotional exhaustion. I can definitely relate to that, which is the core component of burnout. Teachers who feel undervalued are up to 3 times more likely to experience emotional distress than those who feel supported.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I don't think, I personally, and you would agree, we don't want anybody to feel emotional stress. It's like, it's not nice. The
Of
idea
course,
that
it's not
somebody,
nice at all, and it may bring about difficult. I mean, very complex psychological situations. I mean, going to, I don't know, a psychologist or a psychiatrist, or I mean
well,
something
that might not be a
more
bad idea
serious.
for most teachers to go
More
and see
serious.
a psychotherapist, because she will set the record straight. You know, I mean, don't listen to society. It's not super, you know, educated and all the rest. To be honest with you, you know,
Of course,
it's not
of course.
not an awful lot that can be that society can teach teachers. To be honest, it's the other
Exactly.
way around.
That's right.
Okay, So the next killer factor is on the power of agency. Increasing a teacher's sense of professional autonomy or agency is strongly correlated with retention. That means staying on the job, no? You and I, man, we've stayed on the job despite the odds, no?
Exactly.
Studies have shown that when teachers have control over their curriculum, assessment, and professional development, their job satisfaction can increase by 20 to 30%. So obviously the curriculum is set by other people, but you can play around within it, you know?
Yeah,
Don't tell anybody.
Well, exactly. Right.
As the assessment, I mean, we have 100% control over the assessment that we do, and professional development, that's us. We decide how we develop professionally. Watching this video now is professional development. It doesn't cost anything. Manolo and I are doing this for free. You know, that's the kind of guys that we are. So anyway, so I think what I'm saying in that very roundabout fashion is that teachers have more control over what they do on the job than they think. Does that make sense, Manolo? Do you agree? Help me out here. Explain.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Definitely. Could you repeat the question again?
Yeah, sure. I mean, what I'm saying is that I think that teachers have much more control over their job than they might think. I mean, we have control over assessment. We have control over professional development. We have control over what happens in the classroom. You close the door and then it's just you and the students. Curriculum, maybe we don't have that much control over, but you could kind of play around, you know, play around with the curriculum. Nobody will notice anyway. The students aren't learning in most cases. So nobody notices that, you know. But what do you think?
And yet in some schools, there's a lot of fear among teachers. Those schools which are so strict and so narrow-minded, I mean, where they cannot change one word. And well, as you must know, there are schools, or there is a school, I won't mention the name, where there are microphones in the rooms, in the classrooms, and a supervisor or the director can at any moment, and the teachers know that. So the teachers are afraid of doing what you have said. I mean, getting out of the curriculum or assessing in a different way or giving a different variety of the lesson plan because they are being watched. And that is not definitely a good environment at those schools.
Yeah.
Because we all know teachers who have worked for those schools, and they literally feel afraid. I mean, of getting out of what they have been instructed to do. So, but in general, yes, teachers have some sort of freedom. I'm sorry?
Yeah. I mean, don't you think it's important to look for schools, to look for places to work that do respect you a little bit at least, or give you some degree of freedom?
That's it. Of course. Definitely. That is actually also a choice. I mean, if you feel too frustrated or too bad working for a school like that, then, well, you might as well think about moving on and getting another.
Yeah, there are lots of options. There are lots of options.
There are lots of options. That's right.
Okay, mental health. You mentioned psychotherapy a while ago. It says, in high-stress educational environments, up to 1 in 4 teachers worldwide reports symptoms consistent with clinical depression or anxiety. It's 25%, that's very high. Often stemming from feeling powerless against external administrative or parental pressures. Yeah.
That's right.
This is
it's a fact.
This is why I think it's so important to take control of what you can take control of, you know, as a teacher. Because otherwise,
within your reach.
You're giving exactly within your reach, within your sphere of influence, as Stephen Covey, I think, what's Stephen Covey, I think, in that book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or something like that. As then he talked about, you know, controlling and taking care of the things that are within your sphere of influence. We don't have control over everything, but but there are certain things that we do. And if you give all of your power to, like, every last ounce to somebody else, to what parents say, to the students, to the directors, to the school, then of course you're going to feel powerless, and that will lead definitely to symptoms of clinical depression or anxiety. Yeah, that's a horrible situation to be in.
That's an extreme situation, but it happens. I mean, it does happen.
Oh, it does happen. It's happened to me. Don't know if it's happened to you. But
yes. Right. Not as far as having to go to a psychologist, but yes, definitely. Sometimes we feel depressed and yes.
Oh, for sure.
I
mean, not so much anymore, to be honest with you, Manolo, because I've been tried to put into practice, and I've been learning over the years these tips
right.
or strategies, you know. But if you don't, you know, I mean, you know, of course you're going to feel depressed, and of course you're going to feel sad, and of course, because normally teachers are people who care. So if you know other people say, you know, it's very easy for a parent to say, you know, blah, you know, based on nothing, you know, or students, you know, a 13-year-old say X, you know, and what do they know, you know? You have to put it into perspective. It's quite tricky, isn't it? What do you think? Do you think it's difficult to learn all of this stuff, Manolo?
Well, it is not easy, but you definitely have to. I mean, otherwise, you either quit the profession and dedicate to something else, if you think that it is too strong. I mean, too difficult. This is what happened. I was giving some teacher training at some point, and there were some teachers criticizing the system of that school.
Yes.
Quite
giving
harshly.
the power to their power to the school.
And then there was a moment at which I said, well, I'm sorry to say this, but if you simply cannot negotiate and you feel so bad in the system where you belong in this, you would have to think about getting a job in another school or getting another job. I mean, this is like do or die. I mean, of course, as we have just said, and this is why we are here, giving this advice, and of course, each teacher should work it out himself or herself. Of course, if he has this passion for teaching and all that, yes, there is always a solution, okay, within the same profession. But if it is
within the same institution, Manolo,
and the same institution as well, exactly, of course. If it gets to be too difficult and too frustrating, well, then you have to think about other options.
Yes, it might not be.
But you have to think about the positive side, how you can work it out.
I definitely think that there are more solutions to this than it's not about giving up. You know,
there are more solutions, of course.
Taking a break is also an option. I took a break for about 5 or 10 years when I worked in sales.
Yes, definitely.
Something 15 years ago. And taking a break and coming back to it is actually is another thing. I mean, you don't have to quit forever, no. But
that's right.
but then of course if you're not doing it, then you're not learning how to be resilient. And as we said, that's something that you learn over time, day after day. Okay. Another question for you, Manolo, around parents, no? Right. How should a teacher assert professional boundaries when facing parents who have unrealistic expectations about their child's progress or demand teaching approaches the teacher knows are ineffective? Right.
Well, there's a lot of confusion and wrong concepts among people in general, in this case, parents. We are talking about parents, but of course, as you know, Quill and Darragh Idiomas also teach adults and enterprise people and all that. And the attitude is very similar sometimes, but there's a lot of wrong concepts. And the only way is, again, having arguments, having the knowledge in order to not really persuade, but explain. I think you said it at the beginning, explain why you cannot learn a language in a month, why there are parameters, why there are international standards, and all that. And then if you know well, and of course, the parents should be open-minded as well, but I think we can explain things to them. This thing, especially about the time to learn a language, there's a lot of wrong concepts about that. But on top of that, these commercial schools which advertise in a month you will be bilingual, because we keep hearing all the time on TV and all this. This is what causes this confusion. I mean, and then when there is a teacher or an institution or a director saying, well, according to international standards, a learner should need at least 100 hours to cover the objectives or to achieve the objectives of a level. And then parents or clients might say, well, but that is too long. Well, but that is, I mean, and then of course you can tell them, you can consult the sources. I mean, Cambridge, Oxford, etc. All the
they don't care though. No, it's like
they sometimes don't care. That's right. But there is always a way to try to convince them and to show them facts, facts and results. Facts and results. It's very important.
And results. Yes, it comes with responsibility as well, I think, Manolo, not all of this. If the teacher is going to put into practice what you're suggesting, then there's a responsibility on the teacher, an onus on the teacher to take responsibility for the students' learning and actually deliver the results. Yeah, exactly.
And the teacher can always rely and say, well, these are the policies, the school policies. I mean, we have this amount of time allotted for level, and then you can just refer them to the school authorities. I mean, if they want more details, but especially to international parameters. I mean, we always refer to that, and that is something that cannot be, I mean, argued about.
Well,
I mean,
there is such a thing. There is such a thing as cognitive dissonance, Manolo, and the problem with cognitive dissonance is that the human being will automatically revert to what everybody else says or what they already know. It's very difficult for the human being to be open-minded, you know. So even if it is based on international standards, I mean, people don't really care. It's like, well, I've never heard that before. You're the only person saying it, you know. And so,
and especially because, especially because the reality is that these commercial schools and in their publicity, for example, there is one, I won't mention the name either, which says, well, we don't allow any writing or reading in the first level for months because, and our system has been proven because it is the way you learn Spanish. Okay, any person, I mean, who gives it a slightest thought will come to the conclusion that learning a new language is not the same.
You only learn like a baby once in your life. It's impossible to go back to being a baby, isn't it? Anyway,
this is it. But then all of this causes this confusion and these wrong concepts among the clients. Let's call them clients in general. And of course, they come up to you and they think that we are wrong.
And, exactly. Yes, they do. They think that you and I are wrong, and others, lots of others. I mean, we're not the only ones, you know. And the University of Cambridge and the Common European Framework, and they will do anything to defend their cognitive, like everything has to stay the same, you know. No ideas to challenge what I already believe or what I already think, you know. But anyway. The really important thing here, I think, Manolo, is this is why we need to stop listening so much or placing so much of our professional value on silly ideas. I'll use that word silly because this is a public space, but you know, silly ideas, you know. Now, the idea of focusing on speaking and listening before reading and writing, I'm actually kind of a fan of that, except I develop both at the same time. Because my students are not babies, you know, they do know how to read and write. So, I mean, I can understand the focus there, but the problem is that it's too black and white. It doesn't make sense to do it precisely the way they suggest, you know. But anyway, the important thing here, because this is a space that's open to not only English language teachers, it's open to teachers of all. I'm a biology teacher. Sometimes I've taught business studies and environmental science, and each discipline is slightly different. But I think what you're saying is relevant to all of us, that we have to be professional consultants, and if we are not respected as such, then I personally don't care anymore, you know.
That's right.
Because the respect has to come from me, you know, and luckily there are other people that respect me as well. But we have to stop giving our power to people who don't know anything about what they're talking about. And I think it's useful to have words for this, don't you think? It's
Absolutely.
useful to actually know what you're going to say in the situation. Say something
know
like,
what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, because of course you
Yes.
cannot use technical language or anything like that, but just try to explain. I mean, why these things are like that.
How do you explain things, Manolo? Because you are so diplomatic, as you know. Yo no tengo pelos en la lengua. I'm super direct.
Yeah, well, in a way, you always have to refer to international standards. I mean, as simple as that.
And what other kind of language would you use? I mean, imagine I was a difficult student, or
language that they will understand, of course, definitely not, but explaining. Well, there is this marco de referencia europeo. I mean, and the levels are international. You go to China, India, Canada, and these are the international levels. And they were created by experts. I mean, absolutely academic experts and real specialists. So
I'm not sure how much that matters.
And yes, each of the levels has been allotted a serious amount of hours. I mean, for example, if this is the issue that they want their children, or let's say they want to learn in 3 months, they want to become bilingual, well, we have to explain. I know, hopefully, many people will understand, because you always have to. It's not my opinion. You say, well, it's not my position or my opinion. It is international, and you can consult any web page, Cambridge, Oxford, all the common European. You can see that what I'm saying is the truth. I mean, it's not like it is my opinion.
Exactly, because people, if they haven't heard something before, they assume that it is an opinion. You know, they assume that it's not based on any. What do you think about the idea? What do you think about the idea of validating the other person before you talk about international standards? For example, saying something like, I hear your worry about your child's education, no? And I'm committed to helping you with that, you know?
Yes,
and then you start, you know? So that you validate, because otherwise
that is very important. Very important.
Yeah. They might think that you're trying
validating to what right. No, definitely. First you have to listen to them. Listen. And then, like you say, well, we are here to validate what they are saying and all that. And you say, and you can even say, well, yes, what you're saying is true in this way or in this other way.
Right.
But there are these and this and this. Yes, definitely. Absolutely.
Perfect. Okay, let's move on to
more killer facts.
I've got a couple more killer facts here. Yes, indeed. It says here, asserting professional autonomy is vital. Yes. Mandela, no, that's not true. No, I didn't say that. Research suggests that teachers who feel supported by administration in maintaining classroom boundaries report significantly lower levels of stress and higher job satisfaction. Totally true. I'm working in a place at the moment. I'm working in 2 places at the moment where I am supported by the administration. It makes an enormous difference to know that you're not alone. No,
that's right.
Enormous. If we've got any school directors watching, I mean, it doesn't mean that they don't question what I do, or they don't, give me constructive feedback, because nobody's perfect, you know. But it is an environment of support, which is super important, you know.
It changes the whole thing.
Mutual respect, you know. Okay. And a second killer fact is this: when communication is proactive, explaining methodology, explaining how you're assessing, and explaining all this before conflicts arise, parent complaints can drop by up to 40%. Totally true. Yeah, it's super important to have that, even daily communication, informal communication with the parents, telling them how their child is doing. Very, very, very important, because then it's you've already got a relationship with the person. So when a conflict arises, then it's nothing personal. It's about how we're going to solve this problem the two of us, parent and teacher.
That's right. Absolutely.
And also, they can't fire you if the parents love you. Manolo, sorry to interrupt, but if the parents love you, they can't fire you, right? Or they won't fire you because the schools are afraid of the parents.
Right, of course, definitely. But again, like you have.
Oh, sorry, I should.
Yeah, well, talking about these things before they come up. I mean, criticism comes up before. There should be some talks. I mean, motivational talks and all that with the students and the parents in this case, or clients in general, before, as to what learning a new language means. And all that will save a lot of time later of unnecessary arguments or unnecessary criticism, because you will give them the reasons. I mean, what the approach is going to be about. And that, yes, it is not always possible just to have these talks before.
With these talks before, you can also share what the student is learning and has been learning, so that the focus of these conversations is not always on what's going wrong, you know?
That's right, of course.
So that way the parent is actually getting involved in the child's education, you know? The thing is, what happens if they don't want to get involved? Oh, well, then we go back to what we were saying at the beginning, that really we cannot draw our value from what society thinks of us, because society has never really valued teachers. That's just the way it is, unfortunately.
Exactly.
You know? So the value has to come from within, and help support colleagues as well. No.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
We're running out of time, Manolo. We need to wrap this up. There will be other episodes, but let's do a couple more questions. I've got another question. I've got another question for you here. How can teachers effectively engage with and receive meaningful feedback from school directors, particularly those who may not possess the necessary expertise
That's right.
Well, but it happens all the time, to accurately evaluate the classroom performance? How do you deal with these people who don't know anything and they're your boss? And I don't think that's ever happened to me, really. I've been lucky in that respect. Has it happened? I can't remember, but I know it does happen an awful lot.
Well, it once happened to me a long time ago, where actually it was a supervisor who didn't know English but French, and then she criticized the warm-up being too long. She said, "Well, your warm-up was too long," and then it had been too long because I considered that it was necessary to just, and the students were engaged. So, well, in these cases, you have to, again, with your authority and your knowledge, try, like we said, what we do with parents and clients in general, with the supervisor as well. I mean, making these visits, let's say, an opportunity for professional development for both sides, because it should be a learning experience for both sides. From the side of the supervisor, it is always important to ask the professor when we see something, even if we are the supervisor is an expert as well. He or she should always ask the teacher, well, why did you do this or that? What was your objective? Because maybe it's something that the supervisor hadn't thought about, but it was very good, and it brought about very good results. And from the side of the teacher as well. I mean, always this negotiation, and also with your knowledge. I mean, you should explain, well, I did this because of this and this and this. What do you think? You see, there should be this two-sided learning experience.
Sure. Yes, it's a two-way thing. Yeah. I mean, I teach French, and I can tell you, just listening to your story, it may be very, very sad, because we teach French in a totally different way to the way that we teach English. Even if we are communicative language teachers, there are different languages with emphasis on different things, and you teach them in a different way. So this person, she was a French teacher, was she?
She was a French teacher, and she was supervising English classes.
And did she know that English and French are taught in two? Did she know that you teach those two languages in totally different ways?
Well, exactly. No, she didn't seem
Obviously
to know.
not. No?
It was a long time ago. But
right.
Yes,
and how did you deal with that situation? I mean, did it work out well, or how did you feel? Can you talk to us about
Well,
a bit about it?
I did explain why, for example, in this case, the woman was a little longer. And then she understood. Of course, it was in Spanish because she didn't know English. But I mean, if you have the knowledge and the principles and all that, you can always, again, explain why you did things. And then not really focus on these superficial items that the supervisor might also focus on, but going to the results and the principles and all that. And if it works,
Yes.
It works.
And that's where our responsibility as teachers to get results, which a lot of teachers
to get
don't.
results, and also again,
but you have to deliver results, no?
Definitely, results are the bottom line. I mean, the results, if you're doing things in the right way and the institution helps and all that, the results will be there. I mean, there is no other way out.
Well,
generally.
Have you looked at the PISA results recently, Manolo? I mean, the kids aren't really learning very much.
But sometimes there are other factors. Some factors that go against that, of course.
Yes, right. Yes, teachers being one of the main factors. What we do in the classroom, but no, it's a complicated situation. It is, isn't it?
It is definitely. It is not. That's why teaching is a very difficult profession. I mean, it's not really.
It's difficult to do well. It's difficult to actually do it so that the students learn. I mean, you can do it, and then nobody learning, and nobody notices actually.
Especially because you're dealing
most of the time. I could have noticed. Have you looked at?
You're dealing with many human beings. You're dealing because, for example, I don't know, a person that is behind a desk, maybe dealing with only one or two people, but here we are dealing with many kinds of people, many parents, students, clients, institutions, directors, supervisors.
Yeah, it's very complex, and each person that we come into contact with has a different perspective and they might be 14 years old and in a bad mood all the time, that's very different from the parent who it's very, very complex, as you say, lots of different types of people, and cada cabeza es un mundo, all right, let's finish up, but we'll finish up with one last question, because we will be having more of these sessions.
Of course.
Let's talk about student disengagement, because this actually is a big one at the moment. The students are kind of addicted to their phones and switched off, and they believe that AI will do it all for them anyway, so why bother? I mean, that's not. I teach a lot of teenagers at the moment, and that's not my experience of teenagers, but I know it is the experience of a lot of teachers of teenagers, no? So in your opinion, Manolo, what are the most common mistakes teachers make that lead to student disrespect or discipline problems? Do you beat them, Manolo?
Well,
of course you don't. No, but what are the most common mistakes that teachers make that lead to student disrespect and discipline problems? Because this is a big issue.
Well, this, for example, this sort of military environment has gradually disappeared because, of course, the approaches are more communicative and all that, and schools themselves, I mean, the institutions don't allow that to happen. Yet, we used to teach in some Catholic school, and we sent teachers there, and there was this totally military environment. I mean, the teacher, to begin with, the classroom arrangement was completely anti-communicative. I mean, the teacher was on a platform, just like a level above, sort of, the authority. And there were lines of, rows.
Can you explain?
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you, but not everybody who's watching this might be a language teacher. Why is it important? This, when you say communicative and not communicative, what do you mean?
Exactly.
Because this might not be.
Right. Well, what I am now describing is the opposite of communicative, and I will explain what communicative means. So there were rows of the students were not facing each other or anything like that. There were rows like this. The teacher would ask a question, and the students had to stand up, even if it was like a short answer, to answer each of them. So it was a completely
oh my God, that's terrifying
environment. Of course, fortunately and hopefully enough, it doesn't happen, or it very seldom happens. But now a communicative environment is that where the classroom arrangement and the teacher facilitates this interaction. So there's a lot of pair work, group work. The teacher is also moving around, so the teacher is not always in the front. But sometimes somebody passes by and he or she doesn't really see where the teacher is. I mean, or notice where the teacher is, because everybody is engaged. So having this engagement among the students is the communicative approach, and a lot of interaction, a lot of pair work, and also these humanistic activities, which are extremely important. Humanistic activities that, of course, although they are in the language, but they go beyond that, because they go like getting to know each other from a human point of view. The first trace is learning the students' names, which is extremely important. I mean, we know that in some large groups, especially, the teachers only point at the students when they want them to answer, but they don't call them by their names. And
really?
It does have, yeah, well, I have seen groups where by the end of the course, the teachers haven't learned their students' names.
They point, and we know
you, like that, which is completely anti-humanistic, because of course
teachers have discipline problems, I presume. No, do they have discipline problems?
Definitely. If there is no engagement, no motivation, and no interaction, definitely the students lose attention, and there is a possibility for disrespect as well. And again, not learning the students' names, because calling somebody by his or her name is very powerful. Really, I mean, we might think that is not that is insignificant, but it is definitely not.
See them, no?
I mean, because it establishes the first humanistic contact between the teacher and the student as human beings, and not as a group of people that you're teaching altogether, but you're teaching individuals, and that is very important. So all of this brings about disrespect. I mean, the opposite of doing this.
And for people who might not be language teachers, why is communication important in the language classroom?
Well, communication is always important. And this humanistic approach should be present in all of the classrooms and in all the classes in general, because they are human beings. I mean, even if it is a biology or a mathematics class or a history class.
Oh, sure. Yes, exactly.
The same.
Of course. Yes. Yeah. And one trick that I learned with teenagers is to allow them to make their, I mean, obviously you try to explain things so they don't make mistakes, but allow them to make their own mistakes, you know?
Absolutely.
It is difficult sometimes because they do things which are not very clever, so different. But yeah, I mean, they're you have to let them, because that shows respect towards them, you know? You're actually giving a message to them that, okay, listen, I trust you enough to do what you think is right, you know, even though I may not agree.
Absolutely.
And there get a really good response, actually. I mean, obviously they are teenagers, so they're not, I mean, you know, nothing is ever ideal, but it is incredibly powerful. That is very similar to what you're saying by calling people by their name, you know, seeing them as somebody who's capable.
This is the first thing. That is, they feel valued, they feel respected, and of course, when they say something right, I mean, praise them, not in a very exaggerated way either, but just, and especially for shy students who are sometimes brilliant and they have great answers, there are techniques, of course, to make them participate and to make them feel secure. I mean, it should be a safe learning environment.
For sure.
Definitely.
For sure. Nobody likes speaking. Well, I like speaking in public, as you can see. I'm an Irishman. I never shut up, you know. But most people, imagine, Most people hate speaking in public. Imagine
Most
if you're a teenager as well, you're shy, and then the teacher says, you stand.
Exactly.
What is your name? It's terrifying.
Right.
I mean, obviously, yeah, anyway. So let's finish up, Manolo, because we've been going for a very long time, and we will be having more of these sessions.
It's
Thank you
been
very much.
interesting.
It's been fun as always.
As always.
So we really want to enforce the central message, I think, isn't this right, Manolo, that teaching should not be a high stress. It's not very well paid either. There are other jobs you can do to get more pay and be super stressed all the time, but it really shouldn't be something that stresses you out all the time. And it is difficult. Exactly. I get that. It's not that easy, and people are not that great all the time. But it is part of the job of a teacher is to work with people and to bring things
Absolutely.
to a productive, and you will slowly but surely get respect from people and get joy from your job, and that's what we wanted, isn't it?
It is enjoyable. It should be enjoyable.
To be stressed or quit, because Manolo and I, we do watch YouTube. We're a bit older, but believe it or not, we are on social networks to do watch YouTube, and there are a lot of videos out there from teachers, crying and really stressed out, really stressed out. My heart goes out to them. So we thought we might do something. I mean, nobody ever listens to us. No, they do. That's not true. But we might try to do something about it in our own limited kind of a way, So right. Anyway, it's over to you guys. Please type in the comment section. Give us your opinions. You may think that we do not understand the situation that you're in, and that may be the case, So please share. Which of these challenges do you find most overwhelming in your daily life as an educator? Share your experiences, your questions, your ideas in the comments below. And if you liked this video, please like it and subscribe to this channel. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Thank you for watching, those of you who are connected, and we will be looking at the comments with great interest. Thanks a million, Manolo. Have a great weekend. Talk to you on Monday. Un abrazo.